Tugenda tukuyogwati umuyiga gwo komwenia uyo kabiro munyakerugo we ekyombe kirigetenere tobo chore ni chimbebe imeyensi ya Kenya ukona IEBC Wafula Chebukati umuyiga uyogendrete bono ime yechinse mujiri chia kiminini county ya Trans Nzoia Kitale igo bono tugenda tukuyogwati asobwanki monyorenga uyo kabiro munyakerugo nyagusira Wafula Chebukati nigasireti obugima bwayo mweri bumutinyo eta na igo bono nigo umuyiga uyo komwenia ugendrete chinse mecho chia kiminini na boigo nkomanyunga bara ya bange kigima bage siasa nigo banyarako babawikirana chinse mecho na sebono iga oyo nyarako baga ukora gukwana nigare umwancho ye uyu manyikari na Mary Chebukati Wanyonyi uyu bono onyarako baga kuyarira mange bunabanyatwa bakonyorana na umwancho ye bagotebanga umwaka wirwe mu kimikana 56 nigo bawumera ndete chinse mu kiri county ya Mombasa kurende bagacha bono bakore nyangi bagachamu mwaka wirwe mu kimikana 1990 igabona gakoreraga buna magombo kima tiango tramwigwa Madam Mary Wanyonyi Chebukati.
1988 you were then running your law firm Wanyonyi and Company Advocates. I will fast forward on my tribute and remember that because some of the things which have already been said, I will not repeat them. I remember when you ran for the MP seat in Sabata. Saboti, sorry. I said Sabata because Rachel said Sabata. In Saboti, Trans Nzoia. You were adamant that I accompany you to the campaign rallies, but I resisted, wanting to focus on our young children, the young family, while also managing my job because I was I was working in the public sector in the Coast Province. You didn't want to hear about it. You wanted me by your side during the campaigns. I didn't understand why, but over time I realized that while you needed my support in your public life, you were also committed to ensuring that I was never in harm's way. We lost the election, as Rachel says, and when we lost the election, the commissioner didn't allow the results to be tallied. When we went to the hall after elections, when he kept on realizing that our form, the agents form 30, that time they were calling them 16A and B, that our 16A was different from their own 16A, and we had the agents who had signed. What happened is he realized there seemed to be a difference and a divergence in the results. So he suspended the tallying and he said, go home. We shall notify you when to come back. Indeed, we were notified to go back around 2 a.m. When we went back, the tallying did not continue. He simply announced the result. Of course, we had lost with a very small margin. My husband, being the lawyer that he is and the person who demands for his rights, set up a team. I remember my sister Helen was in that team. They were sitting in some hotel somewhere in Kitale, tallying, comparing all the forms. And by the end of it all, they felt that we had been denied our election. So we kept our forms in our house and we said we need to rush back to Mombasa where we lived. We had left the children at home and we said we were now going to put up a petition. So we left this box full of our Form 16As in the house. And while we were heading home, there was a lot of fracas that time. That was 2007. Getting out even was a bit of a problem. But somehow we found our way to Nairobi. We paused at my parents' house, and then we proceeded. But just before we go to Nairobi, we got a call from somebody, and he said, he asked us, do you have anybody in the home? And we asked why. He said, because we have told there are 2 police vehicles, Land Rovers, that are headed towards your home. Said, oh. So they said, make sure there's nobody at home. In the next 1 hour, our home had been raided. Nothing was taken except our nice little box which had our Form 16As. So there went our evidence. We could not petition. Rachel has given you the rest of the story, how determined he was. And I'll tell you, he tried looking for that commissioner. He has not found him until today. Because he really felt he was unfairly treated. Now, those early days, though his friends called him Cheb or chairman, he had these very good friends, Lumatete Muchai and Peterson Semenye, who kept him company in the early years. I used to call him honey, I would call him darling. That is when we had got married. So when Rachel came along, of course the name changed. We became Baba Rachel and Baba Rachel. So the honeys and the darlings disappeared. That's why I decided to have my flower here with honey on it. At least now that the children are grown, I can still call him honey. But honey, I have to call you honey because I'm saying bye to you. I was transferred from Mombasa. I used to work in Mombasa, then later to Kwale. I was transferred because I was outgrowing the station. But because of my family, I did not want to leave. But my bosses at the National Treasury insisted that I had outgrown and I have to move. So I moved to Nairobi. I didn't know how to tell my husband to join me, because you don't tell a Luya or a Bukusu man to follow you when you are transferred. They will not. So I started by pulling Rachel slowly for her studies in Nairobi. I pulled Jonathan, and then I left Emmanuel behind with him. Emmanuel has given you the story, because I used to do the cooking. Now there they were, the two of them. They didn't want to employ anybody to work for them, and Emmanuel has explained to you how they ate the mud fishes. So with time he knew